Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP, and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. Today we're talking about Civic Sparks, the moments that inspire people to do good in their community. We're starting with Brittany Brown, Director of Mission Advancement at The Store, a free grocery store that works to help people emerge from food insecurity and poverty. But before working in nonprofits, she faced a major setback of her own. Just a note to listeners, we will be discussing thoughts of suicide. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to This Is Nashville.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
You know, I want to talk to you later on about your current work at the store, but I want to start, we're going to go back in time a little bit.
Let's go back.
So you started off in corporate sales, right?
I did. I graduated college. I bartended all the way through college, and then I got a sales job at Whirlpool, inside sales. It wasn't necessarily like my dream job by any means, but it was paying well, and it was a great out of college job to be in.
So how did you get from that point, out of school, corporate sales, to where we are right now?
Yeah. A lot of really bad, deep, dark moments. I got sick, and I've never been a person that had experienced any kind of health issues before. I wasn't a hypochondriac. I wasn't somebody that always went to the doctor or anything. And I woke up and felt like I had the flu, but it just continued on. And so they ran a battery of tests. And at first, you know, they were like, well, maybe it's a brain tumor, because I was just so sick all the time. And so they went from brain tumor to maybe pancreatic something. And after a while, you know, my long-term disability, it ran out at work, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They thought it was autoimmune related, but it's so hard to like pinpoint a diagnosis with that. And so I was just sort of left jobless and back in Nashville living at my dad's, and really bitter about what had happened. Like, I had everything and then I lost everything. So I spent a good year drinking really heavily, just depressed, and just thought, God, why would you let this happen to me? Like, I had all the things and now I don't have anything. And on top of that, I feel horrible every single day. Mm-hmm. And so I just really spent a lot of time feeling sorry for myself, a whole year, actually.
Did that year, did you remain close to your faith during that time?
Yeah, I did. I would say that there was some bitterness that I was dealing with God in that moment, though, because I just didn't understand why he was allowing that to happen. I was like, God, I'm a good person. Like, yeah, I drink a little bit too much, but, you know, like, why did you let me lose everything? You know, all my stuff had been in storage, and I was like, great. I am this 28-year-old living at her dad's with no job, and I feel like crap all the time. What a winner I feel like. And I was pissed. I was mad at God, but I didn't ever just completely turn my back on my faith, because I was raised with that, and it had, you know, been the center of who I was. Even throughout college, when I would make bad decisions and got far from him, it was still in there, you know?
So you were in this experience of feeling really bad about yourself, not knowing what is going to come next in life. What changed that around?
You know, there was one particular day that was just really rough. And I just thought, you know what, I'm done. I was sitting on my dad's deck, and he lives on a farm, and so it's beautiful out there. But I spent a lot of time in nature with God during that time. And I was very drunk, and I just thought, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, I feel awful all the time. I don't have a hope. I don't have future. I want to quit. And so, I had a hunting gun that, you know, I don't ever hunt, but I like to shoot with my dad, targets and stuff. And I grabbed my gun, and I Googled, like, how do I make sure I do this right? And then I guess I just passed out. But the next day I, you know, did a lot of soul searching, obviously, and felt pretty hungover, but also really bad about the decision that I was trying to make the night before. And it was like, God was like, if you just stop and listen, I can turn this into something good. But you have to let go of this. You have to surrender. And so I was just at the end of my rope. And I said, fine, God, just show me what you have in this plan for me, because I am miserable and I feel so alone. And so I went on a journey. I found sobriety. I've been sober for 11 years, thank God.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Yeah.
And I went on a journey just really doing some soul searching and some introspection. And I just started to take into account, I'd spent that whole year complaining about being this 28-year-old at my dad's, and of course my mom helped too, but she lived nearby. And then I thought, oh my gosh, if I hadn't had family to come home to, I would have been homeless. There was no way I could have worked. And so then I started to take into account, that's not a curse, that's a blessing. Mm-hmm. And how many people are out there that have gone through an illness and lost everything, and they don't have anyone to fall back on, so they're experiencing homelessness right now. So that's what kind of led me into my journey of seeking out people that were in hard times. And really all I wanted to do is just remind them that there's hope and there's a God that loves them and he has a plan, even though it's such a dark moment. And so I started looking over different nonprofits in the Nashville area and, ones that cater to people that are experiencing homelessness. And I went and for my birthday that year, went to Library Park and we passed out peanut butter jelly sandwiches because someone had told me a lot of people that were unhoused were hanging out down there. And I liked that. And I also liked just the hands-on experience. A lot of the other places, it was sort of more of a behind the scenes volunteer experience where you're going to be packing bags for people experiencing homelessness. But I thought, no, I want to get to them. I want to love on them and remind them they matter. So, that Christmas, I made a lot of posts on social media and I was like, I'm going to find a homeless encampment and I'm going to bring them stuff on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I made all these posts all over social media and got jackets and snacks. And so I got Kroger's to give me a whole bunch of paper bags. And so I would put different size jackets in each paper bag and, label what size they were and then a few snacks. And I had heard about a homeless encampment at Fort Negley. And, my mom and stepdad went with me. We just showed up one day and just started handing out the stuff on Christmas Day. And I knew in that moment, this is the beginning of something great that God has, and I was still sick, but, I was able to do things like that around days that I felt okay. Mm-hmm. And so after that, I decided this is what I want to do. So I started a little outreach organization called Operation Not Forsaken. And that's all I did. I worked for my mom a little bit part-time in real estate, just doing some office work and stuff. But on days that I felt okay after, I would go all over Middle Tennessee picking up donations from Facebook posts, whether it be food or tents or propane or sleeping bags. And then I would go to encampments, mainly the Fort Negley one because it was massive. It was about 100 people camping out there and bring them their supplies. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
You knew right then you were beginning to answer the call that God gave to you when you were sitting on your dad's deck.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when we're in these dark moments, it's easy to focus and be hyper-focused on what is wrong. And when you can take a step back and ask God, you have plans and purposes and everything. What is your plan and purpose in this? What are you trying to teach me? That's when you can really get your mind off what you're going through and maybe on others. And it really does inadvertently lighten everything for you as well.
What has that experience really taught you about the pain people carry? A lot of times it's undetected. A lot of times meaning that most folks ask, hey, how are you? Mm-hmm. We're going to come up with some spin on these pretty hard situations that we're going through.
Yeah. I mean, I think regardless of if you're experiencing homelessness or not, we all are carrying around a heavy burden of some kind. And so to just be a light wherever you go, to love on people and remind them that they matter, can really be the difference of someone going home and making a decision that is forever. Mm-hmm. Where I was at, I was ready to just be done. And a lot of people experience that. And unfortunately, in this day and age, everything it's just set up for isolation, people are afraid to pick up the phone. We're all texting and, social mediaing, but there's not real connection. And that can also just increase someone's depression and make them feel so isolated. So I think it's just really important that we always remember we don't know what burden someone's carrying around. And maybe they're being hateful with that burden and you just think they're a grumpy person, but try to show kindness and grace to them despite it, because it could be a game changer for their life.
And we see the bumper stickers, but you're saying actualize what's written on those bumper stickers.
Do it. Yeah.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ekolona. My guest is Brittany Brown. She's the director of mission operations at The Store, which is a nonprofit that helps feed people in need. Okay, so right now you're the director of mission advancement at The Store.
Yeah.
Describe to us what The Store looks like when we walk in.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am just in love with The Store and what we do. And when you walk in, it's a normal grocery store. So often people that are experiencing food insecurity and poverty, decisions are made for them over and over and over. And what we want to be is that one place of normalcy where they get their dignity, they're empowered to make their own choices. And so that's what they do. And they also happen to find community when they walk in that door too. And so it's really beautiful.
So it's a full-on grocery store, deli section, produce.
There's not a
snacks.
deli section, but there's a dairy section, there's a meat section, there's the aisles, there's produce section. It's the star of the show, I must say. It's beautiful produce. It's just like a miniature Kroger's or Publix. And, there's no stigma. It's called The Store, and that's why it's called The Store. A child that comes in through our doors with their mom or dad, they don't know any difference on, mom's not paying for these groceries. It just feels like a grocery store, except for we have a kids section, which they can play in while mom, dad, or grandma or whomever is shopping.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And when they check out, it's a matter of just checking out to maintain inventory, I imagine.
Yeah. So there is no money exchange when they check out. We have an amazing army of volunteers that man the checkout station. So it takes 120 volunteers a week to run the store.
Wow.
We're predominantly volunteer ran. We're just a small staff of 7 or 8. And yeah, those volunteers are wonderful. And there's someone there that will count the items. Someone will sort them. Someone will bag them, and someone will do the inventory.
Okay.
At the end of their shopping experience, they can get a receipt that shows them how much they would have spent, because they're typically in our program for about a year.
Okay.
Unless, some circumstance happens and they need us a little longer. But that way they can know time after time how much they would have spent, so it'll help them with budgeting. Because in addition to the shopping, we offer financial empowerment classes where they can work on budgets and stuff like that. But after they're done, the volunteer will take them to groceries to their car and pack them or help them to the bus. And so it's just a really beautiful way. I always like to tell people the store is such a beautiful place of belonging.
Yeah.
It's not just about the food. The shoppers come in the door and they find community, and they're met with hugs, and they're seen, and they're cared for. And, we have these amazing volunteers that know the shoppers because they come week after week. And so they find community in that. And they're like, oh, how's your son? Or what's going on? How was your doctor's appointment? It's just a really beautiful way to feed people.
Now, food insecurity is a longstanding and growing issue.
Yes.
Nationwide.
Food insecurity is at a 10-year high.
What do you wish more people in Nashville knew about food insecurity?
I think just the way that we choose to feed people, while it is a lot more expensive, we buy 90% of our food because we're set up like a grocery store, but a lot of people that aren't in that spot, that aren't food insecure, they think, oh, food drive, I'll grab the peas in the back of my pantry that I don't want. You know what I mean? And that way we're doing our part and we're giving food to people that need it. And while that's wonderful, and as long as we get food into the hands that need it, that's great. But to be able to give them the choice, like sometimes people are like, well, if they're hungry, they'll eat it. Well, what if they have dietary restrictions? I do. I have health stuff and I have dietary restrictions. I can't just eat anything. So yeah, just having a different mindset in how they help, and just put themselves in their shoes of someone that's maybe experiencing food insecurity. It's not just as simple as here's a pack of ramen noodles.
Something I always feel a little bit weird at is if I'm in a restaurant, particularly like a fancy or a very popular one, I look at the menu and I see these exotic items, and I know it's going to be delicious for the most part, right? People are raving about this restaurant. Then I watch and I look around at all the other diners. People are there, they're having fun. I can't really help but think about people who can't or don't have that experience. While I'm there, supposed to be enjoying myself eating, It feels like still slightly dystopian, where restaurants and opportunities like that are given to those who have the resources or the opportunities to, and everyone else is kind of left to fend for crumbs or having to fend for themselves. Nashville, for its essence, has a lot of restaurants popping up, but not many grocery stores. What does all that tell you?
Yeah, I mean, I love Nashville. I'm from here. I grew up here. But it has gotten to where we're pushing out our people that are also from here, but can't afford to be here anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough problem. Groceries are they're so insanely expensive, and there are so many of the families in our program that are doing all the right things. They're working, they're doing all the things, but they've got 3 kids and they have childcare and rent in Nashville is crazy, and so they just can't make all the ends meet. And so just being mindful of that is huge. But I just hope Nashville can not forget about the people that might not be at the top of the chain as far as financially.
Now, the store was founded by Brad Paisley and his wife.
Yes, Kimberly Williams Paisley.
Why did they start it?
You know, they have 2 kids, and they decided that their kids needed to really be able to see that, you know, not everyone has the life that they live. And so Kim packed the kids up and said, let's go. We're going to go volunteer. They volunteered at a choice-based grocery store model called Unity Shop in California, and they fell in love with the model, and they just said, we have to bring this back to Nashville. So that's what they did, which is really, you know, it speaks a lot. So someone said this to me, and it was impactful, but they're like, you know, so many of the country music stars in Nashville are opening up bars, but, you know, Brad Paisley and his wife, Kimberly Williams Paisley, they're opening up a nonprofit, and it's true, and they have incredible hearts.
How many people do you guys help out a year?
So great question. Last year, we had set out to double our difference. So we had historically were serving 350 households that came and shop with us every other week. And so with food insecurity at a 10-year high, I was like, we've got to do something about this. So we want to double the amount of households that come through our doors every other week. Of course, there were plenty of people on the waiting list, so it wasn't about finding the people, but we had to raise the money to be able to afford to feed double the families and individuals that we served. And so little by little, as we would raise more money, we would add in more people, and it was beautiful. So we had set out to serve 700 last year, and we ended with 987.
Wow.
Households that we're feeding every other week. So we more than doubled our difference, but there's still over 1,000 people on our waiting list wanting to shop with us that need us.
I do want to talk about that. You are expanding after 5 years. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So Tom Osborne, he is the CEO at Centennial Hospital. He's recently, came to Centennial, and he was interviewing staff, and what they were reporting is that so many of their patients were, reported to be food insecure, and they didn't want to release them from the hospital without the, food that they needed. And, a lot of people were experiencing homelessness that they were having to release, and they needed some clothing items. So he said, well, we need to do something. We need to create a food pantry, because a lot of their staff were just buying things and keeping it in a back closet or something. And so someone on their board, Perry, she was like, no, the store already does that. Why don't we just partner with them? So he came to us, and he was like, listen, we have this need, we have this space, and you have this service. So let's partner up. And so they have this storefront at the bottom of their parking garage on Patterson. And he was like, you can have it. You just have to finish the inside of it. And, you can make your second location there. So we're so excited to be opening up a second location. It's going to be more than triple the size of our current. So we'll be able to serve a lot more people from that location as well.
Where do you want to see the store in the next decade or two?
Well, within the next 5 years, we want to open up our third location in North Nashville. It is such a huge food desert. The need is so incredibly great. So many people in North Nashville don't necessarily have the means of transportation. And there's one main grocery store in North Nashville. And so they're having to go to, convenience stores or smaller stores to get the food that they need that doesn't necessarily have the nutrition, that they need. So we are really happy to try to meet the need in our community and just lift people up with that choice and dignity and the love and the community.
Brittany Brown is the Director of Mission Advancement at the store. It's a nonprofit organization that feeds people in need. Brittany, thank you for coming here, sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Coming up, we're talking to another woman who started her own nonprofit after seeing a need. Stay tuned. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from Burr and Foreman Law Firm, serving clients with transactional, litigation, and regulatory needs. Discovering how each client defines a win and working with them every step of the way to achieve it. Burr.com. Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. It started with an idea: hand out free food to kids in the neighborhood during the pandemic. Now, Samaria Leach has turned her idea into a huge ongoing effort and a nonprofit called Window of Love. So what sparked this desire to help? And how does becoming a nonprofit change the way we do good? Well, we'll learn when we talk with her. I'd like to welcome Samaria Leach to This Is Nashville. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you provide for others. Did you always kind of have this sense? Were you always like that growing up?
Yes, I was. I would always just give others some of my lunch or help others out. As a child, you always had a candy lady. So if they didn't have it, I would give them the quarter to buy the freeze cup and different things. And my mom was like that. She would give the shirt off her back and, welcome people into our home. Growing up, I always seen people giving, especially the older people. I'm an 80s baby. Okay. And we always seen people giving to others and not talking about it. So they would give from the kindness of their heart and not talk about it.
So they're not talking about it to keep that person's pride, but I also pick up when they're not talking about it, they're not trying to get a pat on the back for it. You just do it because you're supposed to do it.
It instilled a lot in me, personally as a person, to see others give without any explanation of why they're giving. I seen love. That's the main thing that I seen. I seen love. I seen love that was shown to so many people. Those people knew, some they didn't know, strangers, homeless people. It was amazing. They didn't have to say the word, I love you, but it was shown that someone cares and love you because they was given. And growing up, I realized it came from the heart. And even when I started the Window of Love, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really giving from my heart, not doing anything for recognition, just truly from my heart. And that felt really, really good to know that things that I seen when I was younger, I'm able to instill in my own life and do that.
Exhibit the person you want to be. Now, tell me how you feel about social media, because sometimes on social media you see folks doing these quote unquote acts of kindness. However, if you're really doing it, why do you got to film it? That's my question.
It has its ups and downs. So I used to not want to tell people things I did for other people. Sometimes I will take pictures and sometimes I won't. The reason why I said I like to tell, because I tell people, this is one of my things, my thesis. You can give and don't be rich, but you can be rich in your heart. And sometimes you have to give a testimony so another person can be like, oh my gosh, she was giving and maybe only had $100, but she's able to feed over 300 kids. So to me, sometimes it's a testimony to be like, look where I'm at. But look at all the wonderful and great things that I've been doing from my heart. So sometimes if you're in a bad situation, doesn't mean you have to look like what you're going through. And if you're going through something, if you are going through something, doesn't mean you can't give from your heart. If $1 all you have, then you give that $1.
Yeah.
If it's $100. So sometimes people do be boastful. But sometimes it's a testimony. But then you think about it, why can't I speak about the goodness that I'm able to do in my community or do for someone else? That may spark somebody else when they in line to say, hey, I'm going to pay for those people groceries. So you always should show different acts of kindness to people.
Was there someone who you observed and saw that inspired you to move forward with Window of Love?
So before the pandemic became this big old thing, the tornado hit Nashville. And I was out for 14 days. Me, my kids, my friends was out. We just had water, snacks, passing those out. And then we was helping pick up the debris from the tornado on North Nashville and East Nashville. Well, this lady's house had blew away. I mean, just was all the way on the other side gone. That night, she was frying fish. And it touched my heart. How can someone who has lost everything, a house that she's been having over 50 years, have so much love in her heart to be able to feed volunteers who's helping her when she, we would think she would be hurt, crying somewhere, trying to get her life back together. But she decided, hey, me and my family is going to feed those that's helping the community fish. I was in awe. Even though I have seen great things growing up, but to see somebody lose everything, still show up with a smile and frying fish. And I'm like, we should be doing more for you. She said, no, I want to be able to show you guys love. It's from my heart. And that stuck with me. And that night is when God placed on my heart. And I was like, feed kids. I usually feed them for spring break. I thought about it. I woke up and was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to post on social media. I will be feeding kids since school is out 3 days a week. And the only thing I could think about was that lady. It didn't play on, from my childhood growing up, just seeing someone who has lost everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do something. That morning I was kind of hesitant. I posted, and it was life-changing. Things that had been instilled in me in life, and to actually see it from someone who has lost everything, it will always stick with me.
What did that teach you about real, true generosity?
To me, it taught me you can give no matter what. Sharing love is free. Kindness is free. And just genuinely being who you are doesn't cost a thing. And sharing that love doesn't cost a thing. And it's okay to share it with anyone. Those you don't know, those who have hurt you, just to be able to share that genuine love. And I seen that during the pandemic. All about love. We all was affected by the pandemic. And and some by the tornado. And to see somebody continue to push, keep pushing, that inspires me. No matter what, Samaria, you keep pushing. Even if you don't have the food, ask. The food to feed the kids. Keep pushing. Don't you give up. You seen someone who could have gave up. But you seen someone who lost everything. Push.
So you get this voice. You see this woman who lost everything, turns around to feed those who are helping her. Love. You're taking your kids, you go home, you get this voice. I need to start feeding kids. You post on social media to feed kids. What did you do next? What did you feed them? How did you put everything together?
So that particular week, Kroger's had a big sale. 99 cents on Nathan's hot dogs, juices, boxes of chips. And they usually don't run this sale but around spring break.
Okay.
So, and then I had things in my house already there. So I'm like, oh my God, I got all this stuff. School shut down, so now I'm not going to see any kids, But that was a different story. When I looked downstairs and seen everything I had that morning, I was like, this is going to be amazing, but nobody's going to come. They're going to be like, this lady's strange, talking about coming to her home. And no, it was a different story. They were coming slowly. First, I started feeding them out of my door. For safety reasons, I was like, I can't keep opening my door. I'm opening my door to strangers, those I've never met in my life.
And it's a pandemic.
Yes.
going on?
So then by that Thursday, I'm like, we don't have any food. You know, a lot of people been coming. I only have a little bit of money. I can't not continue to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was ready to give up. Like, forget it. Okay, I did what I was supposed to do. I followed what God wanted me to do. I did a good deed. Okay, it's over. People were still knocking. They need food. You think, kids out on a regular break. No, they're not getting any food. Schools are not providing anything. And I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Because I don't have the funding to continue to go buy food. Things are not on sale anymore. That was the sale the week before. What do you want me to do? Continue. And I'm like, okay. I said, God, if you're going to provide, I need you to provide. Be careful what you ask for.
Okay.
Be careful. I would just, hey, if you're going to do this, let's go. I posted on social media, I needed help. Well, it became overwhelming because the help came. And I didn't know what to do. I would look outside on my porch. It would be boxes of chips. Random people knocking on my front and back door. Here go $25. Here go $50. I know you don't know me and I don't know you. I'm like, okay, this is scary. I know I asked for him to provide, but now it's overwhelming.
Okay.
I'm seeing more people. It's getting out all on social media. People is reposting. I'm like, okay, this is too much to handle. I was ready to bag back. Things were coming, but it was too much. I didn't have any volunteers. So one of the young girls in my neighborhood decided she would help me, which was a big help. Then someone called the news. And when the news said they was coming to my house, I immediately shut down.
Why?
Because I'm like, I want to be able to continue to do this from the heart. I don't need any recognition. Then I have to welcome them into my home. But I want to be who I am when they come, if they come. I was nervous. Sometimes when you are doing good things, other people don't like that. So people was like, oh, you're doing good. You must got a lot of money. You doing all this. So it was distraction coming. But when they came, they was like, just be you. Do everything you would do and pretend we're not here. It made me kind of feel good. Yeah. You think, oh, I'm going to be on the news. Got to be like this. Got to be like that. No.
Make sure your outfit is nice.
Yes. Yeah. So just be you. And that's what I did.
What was the result? Sorry to interrupt, but what was the result of that? Did you get more people to hit you up and volunteer? More donations?
Oh, my gosh. Yes. More and more and more. But now we're able to feed more nutritious meals. Doors start opening for me to be connected with people. God was just sending so many people my way. But then, here go everybody. You didn't file for a grant? I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the business part. The only thing I know how to do is show up and be who I am and God and walk in my purpose.
Tell me this, how many people give me a sense of how many folks Window of Love helps in a week?
So during the pandemic, we was helping about 75 to 100 kids.
Okay.
On event days, like Christmas, during our Christmas, be about 225 or more. But the main number would be 75 kids to 100 a day.
So you've been at this for 5 years.
Yes, my anniversary's coming up.
Congratulations. Very much congratulations. So can you look back to these early days and where you are now? What advice would you give yourself knowing what you do now?
Give yourself patience, time, continue to love on yourself. It's okay. You can't save the world, but if you touch that one, it'll make a difference.
With that, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
All right. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Samaria Leach about her work and what she does to provide for those in need. Stay with us. This is Nashville. Colonna, and this is Nashville. My guest is Samaria Leach, the creator and operator of the nonprofit Window of Love. Samaria, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've been working on your own. You're providing for people in the community. There was a point at which someone came to you and said, you should turn this into a nonprofit, the business plan stuff you talked about earlier. Walk me through, what does that look like? What steps does it that go into, from sharing this food from out of your window of your home to creating a full-fledged nonprofit? What's that been like for you?
Let me breathe. It takes a lot out of me. You have to deal with more paperwork. You have to deal with kind of following these guidelines. It's very difficult. A young lady that came to me who knows me, and she know how to get people nonprofits, and I was like, no, I just want to just keep giving from the heart. That's just too much for me. But things start happening, with the money that's coming in. It was going right out to the community, but I do live in MDHA housing.
Okay.
And I got a phone call that stated, hey, the money you have coming in going to have to be calculated towards your rent. And I'm like,
oh,
are you serious? I said, you know what? After my anniversary, my first year anniversary, I said, let's do it.
I mean, look, let's be real. What you've been doing under the eyes of God is right. But under the guise and the eyes of the government and our structures, you got to get the official paperwork in.
Yes.
So what made you hesitant to get that paperwork from being hesitant to get that paperwork to being like, okay, we're going to become a full-fledged certified 501c3?
Okay. Reading all the good things on social media, you will read the bad things. So I'm looking at one of the news posts. And people like, go shut that lady down. And she needs to go by the health department rules and this, and that. I let that get to me. I was like, I'm finna stop this. I feel like I'm being bullied. I didn't respond. And I had a talk with a couple of my friends. And I was like, you guys, what do y'all think? Y'all think I can do this? They were like, it wouldn't be no better person in this world to do this. You started something during a pandemic when things is hectic. You are the right person. They was like, you don't have to be all organized. Things will come. You will start to learn different things. And I just said, do y'all got my back? And they said yes. The day she called me, she was in tears. Happy tears. She was like, Samaria, the Window of Love is now a 501c3 nonprofit. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm at my son's baseball practice. Tears. I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
To know that I accomplished something bigger than me. So now I'm like, okay, I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm posting about it. And what do I do? Because here it comes. Can I get hours? You ain't filed for a grant? I don't know anything about this. I get online, I read about it. I'm very confused. So once again, I'm like, I can't do this. This is too much. Too much reading. I don't have time. Everything is moving so fast. The kids are still coming to take a class or this. I don't even know how to write letters to companies and things like that because it's out of my comfort zone too, to ask for help. Even though I love to give back, it's out of my comfort zone.
Why do you think, hold on a second, why do you think why is it hard for you to ask for help, but it's so easy for you to offer help?
Even though growing up I seen people helping people, I still seen the negative part too. When people help people, they talk about it. It's just like being ashamed, almost.
I understand.
And so with being a business, you have to kind of move your personal. You have to divide it. And it's very hard. When you truly walk into your purpose, you might have said, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a teacher. But when you walk in your purpose, there's not $1 million that can take you away to stop doing what you do because you truly walking in it. But then when you have to deal with business and you don't know anything about the business, you just know how to show up, be you, and boom, go for it. But when you have to learn, okay, I got to do things like this, I have to build a website, and then you don't have the funding. People say file for a grant. How? What kind of grant?
Was there a way of people who have experience in writing grants, people who have experience in fundraising for a 501c3, beyond just the volunteers who are helping you do the work? Did those folks show up too?
So I have to give credit to Vanderbilt Peabody scholars. My daughter actually goes to Vanderbilt University, and she has a disability, and she's a part of a program called Next Steps at Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah, we've had them on the show.
Yeah, she's a senior this year, so she'll be graduating. Her friends will always see my daughter posting about the Window of Love. And they will go look up what the window's about, see all the posts and everything, and the love that my daughter shown. They was like, we got to meet your mom. Mm. So out of 160 nonprofits they could have chose, they chose me. Mm-hmm. They said, come in. We just want you to talk, tell us about the window and what would you like. They built me a webpage. So amazing. They had to work with me a whole year. Now, putting all that together with a person who don't know anything about the business was a lot. So we didn't get into trying to learn how to get a grant, but a blessing came out of it. I was able to make a connection with the Nashville Food Project program. So I was able to introduce the youth in the community and people tell them about nutritious meals, feed them more nutritious meals, and they provided some of those items for free. So we was able to do maybe a 3-course meal with fruit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're growing, we're getting bigger, go ahead.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good. Now, they still get some unhealthy stuff, like their Rice Krispie, but now we are able to give them maybe chicken, green beans, and mashed potatoes.
You're doing all this from your home. You are now a fully fledged nonprofit. You're getting assistance from Vanderbilt. You're in partnership with the Nashville Food Project. Are you paying yourself?
No, that is a thing we're struggling with. The Window of Love has not did a fundraiser. We just get out there word of mouth, telling people what we do in the community. It takes a lot of money to do the Window of Love, to feed these kids, especially when you're trying to do nutritious meals. It becomes a lot. It leaves me lacking things I need to do for me and my family, because this is a full-time job. This is not something I say, hey, I'm going to wake up one day and do it today and tomorrow. I have to network every day. Yeah. Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends. You know, the window may not be physically open, but I'm out trying to meet people, come out of my comfort zone, asking people or getting online, trying to figure things out. It does make things very difficult because this is a full-time job for me.
Most people get paid for their full-time jobs.
You know. So I really don't know too much about how I can start taking a little bit out. We need to raise money and get more money to come in. So I can be able to do those things. So I can be able to hire somebody to do a social media or get an intern to come in to say, hey, here go the information, so it can take the heaviness off me, because I feel very heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it takes a lot out of me. Oh, God.
It's a lot. Are you finding ways to give yourself some rest while you continue to do this work?
I'm trying, because I know I cannot pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
So I do try to pour into myself. The main thing is I give myself words of encouragement, because it gets crazy. You know, I'm like, okay, I want to be able to do things with my family. I want to be able to do things. I don't want to just smile at the window and kind of be a little sad at home, you know, because the window does a lot. Not just being at the window. We do go to the homeless shelters. We do feed the homeless. We do show up at the essential workers jobs, drop off donuts. If we see some people working on the side of the road, I'm going to come back with water. It's just always showing up with this kindness somewhere, sharing the love. And it takes a lot.
You know, we've been talking about how to help others. And again, in turn, how that helps ourselves. I understand that you've struggled with anxiety a little bit, but you're doing this work has kind of helped you face your anxieties. What do you make of that? How helping someone in turn really does help ourselves with whatever we've been facing as individuals?
Well, being at the window of love brings me peace. Because when I'm kind of like in this zone of being who I am, I don't think about the funding. I don't think about the business. I truly think about our youth. And it brings a peace to see this child or this youth come up with a smile. And we may not know each other, but to see that they can see the love that is being shown bring me peace. Mm-hmm. And even though my anxiety, it be all over the place. I'm all over the place. But when I'm with these kids, I can just truly be who I am. I can move all around. I can sing with them. I can just genuinely be who I am. Don't feel like I have to put on all these masks and be something else for somebody else. I can show up and be me. It just brings this, oh my God, it embraces my heart. You know, even if I'm having a frustrating day, being at the window, this seems to make everything so much better at times. And I'm the type of person that loves to see others smile. I don't even think they have ever seen my anxiety. Mm-hmm. Too much. I think I'd be so involved, the anxiety doesn't get the best of me. Mm-hmm. And I got an award for it. And I was so shocked that they chose me. I got a personal courage award for being able to do the window of love through everything, anxiety, because my anxiety is real bad. And I feel so good about that. I feel like it's my little Grammy, and I look at it all the time. You know, I'm just thankful that the kids don't have to see it. You know, and I'm manic anxiety, and I like to be fast-paced. So they don't get to see it, even when I am having my anxiety issues.
Given all this that you've learned about yourself, about others, about the city, about what it really means to give to people, how would you encourage someone else who wants to do the same thing, to give in their way?
I was just about to say that. Give in your own way. The way of the person who you are. Always be true to you. Find what you like to do or that hobby and you go for it. I don't care if it's picking up nickels on the ground. You be the best nickel picker you can be. Mm-hmm. Be the best. And you don't compare yourself to no one. Not your business, not yourself. Anything that you're doing, you just continue to get better and better. And it's okay to learn things along the way to help you to gain tools and different things of what you're doing to make yourself a better person, to be better at what you're doing. It's always good to grow and never think you can't learn anything. You learn something daily. Walk into your purpose. When it doesn't become a job and it becomes something you love to do, then that's when you know you're walking in your purpose.
Samaria Leach is the founder of Window of Love, a nonprofit that provides food for people in need. Samaria, thank you Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate this. I enjoyed talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Emily Siner. It was directed by Mary Mancini. Our technical director and board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are Larange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. And the conversation does not end here. Comment and tell us what you want to hear on the show by leaving us a message at 615-751-2500. You can also hit us up on the socials, Blue Sky, Instagram, and X at This is Nashville. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil A. Colonna. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. And be good to each other.